Live with Sujay, and we're all the way live and in living color. So delighted to have you. Thank you for inviting us into your home, to your workplace. We're just glad to be with you. You know, we've been focusing on Black women leaders and celebrating Black culture in the East End, and it is my excitement and delight to introduce to some and present to others Mother Cecily Broderick Guerra.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's great to be with you.
You know, I mean, you're new in the studio today, but our ministries actually began around the same time. I think you were at Mother Phillips. Is it St. Phillips?
St. Phillips in Harlem.
And so talk to me about your journey towards priesthood.
Wow. So I grew up in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, my father asked for us to give of our time because the money that he gave us was his money.
Okay, yes.
So the more I got involved in the church, the more I loved it. When I was around 13, I saw for the first time an ordained woman.
Same here.
And I said, wow, I could do this.
Yes.
Never mind they weren't ordaining women at large in the Episcopal Church at that point. But that's the seed got planted and I just kept at it.
Do you remember who it was?
I do not.
So the first woman I saw was Dr. Katie Geneva Cannon, the late Dr. Katie.
Sure.
The woman so she was a college student at Barbara Scotia College in Concord, North Carolina, and I spent summers, you know how we had to go down south. Yes. And she walked in and I had no idea I was going to be called to ministry, but I said, she's it. And she became my big sister until she passed. So 50 years I had her in my life. But yeah. And you know the Baptist Church wasn't even thinking about ordination. So yeah. So have you faced barriers? I mean, you've been head of the Episcopal Diocese of Long Island.
Well, not quite head.
Well, very
bishop would be up there.
What's the next?
Well, so there's been opposition, of course.
Yeah.
Right. So when I entered ministry, when I looked to enter ministry, I was still in high school. And the first obstacle was I was too young.
Okay.
Like, well, back in the day, they took men straight out of high school, gave them a bachelor's of divinity, popped them in to be in charge of a church. But now that women were coming in, we had to go get a real life.
Yes.
So that was the first obstacle. Then the next thing was that really up until a very few years ago, I never served inside a predominantly white institution.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yes.
Yes.
So my early childhood, we were in a Black Episcopal church. Then we moved to Scarsdale, and there was, we were the only chips in that cookie.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was my sponsoring church was St. James the Less Scarsdale.
Oh my goodness.
So my formative years were really in the Anglican, the white Episcopal church.
Oh my goodness.
But my first 25 years in the Episcopal church, I had to learn what it was to be a Black Episcopalian. Because
amazing.
I would go and guest preach. They'd say, oh, you're so wonderful. Yeah. Then I would interview, like, not so much.
Right, exactly. Not at this time.
Not this time. I had one church ask me at the end of the interview, do you think more people like you will come if we hire you?
Oh my goodness.
And I said, well, in my experience, people come and stay because of who's in the pew, not because of who's in the pulpit.
Oh, yes.
Well, they did not hire me.
Okay.
But you shall remain nameless.
Exactly.
They hired someone who lasted about a year, and I thought, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, and I will repay.
Wow. So how was it going back to St. Philip's in a Harlem community?
Yeah, St. Philip's, I was there twice in my career.
Wow.
I was there within the first couple of years of my ordination as an associate, as a curate. And then later, when they had some difficulty with a male pastor who didn't do the right thing by them, I was called to be the cleanup woman.
Always.
I was there for 4 years, and it was wonderful to come back seasoned and mature.
Yes. And back home.
So,
you were the first one I ever called mother. I didn't know how to address a woman in the Episcopal Church. So Mother Broderick, it was so wonderful to know you and to just kind of say, we know each other.
And you were downtown at
Mariners Temple Baptist Church. Same kind of thing, ageism. I was 26, and all my congregation were senior citizens, and they said, we've got kids your age. And I was like, yeah, but I'm your pastor.
Yeah. When I went to St. Philip's, it's like, what shall we call you? I said, well, the term is mother. And they said, no, I don't think so.
So there was
you were my child. So they came up with a nickname. I was Mama B. The kids came up with the nickname. And the adults were like, okay, it's not really like calling her mother.
Right, it just kind of works.
She could be my grandchild. I'm not calling this woman mother.
Wow, it's amazing. But the resistance, because I was at a church, a cleanup woman, exactly. The church was about to close, and they thought it was going to be the benediction. And so let's give her the church, and then it grew.
They had no idea what you did.
You know, so it's exciting to be here today. So let's look at some pictures you brought, because now you're back home in a real sense. You're back in Sag Harbor, in the home where your parents lived, and also at a church, Christ Episcopal Church
where
in Sag
I
Harbor.
went every summer.
Oh my goodness. So let's look at some pictures that we have here. So this childhood pictures. Tell us who we're seeing.
So I'm the girl in the picture, so that's me. Behind me is my oldest brother, Gregory, who is Dean of Students at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida, over the School of Urology.
I love it.
And then just in front of me is my brother, Vernon, who is a federal court judge appointed by President Obama.
My friend.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it.
And then the baby there is my brother, Cecil. We're both named after my father.
Yes, I've met him.
And he is in Florida. He's been selling cars and doing a variety of things. He's a real civic-minded person, always giving back to the community.
Right, well, I have a nephew for him. My youngest son is now in Miami, so we're going to put those two together.
Right,
so we have some other pictures. Let's see the array of pictures that you have. Now this is you, and tell us who we're seeing.
Oh yeah, well this is a baby, shall remain nameless, little anonymous baby born at the last church that I was serving.
Okay, and you're a mommy now too. Right?
I am.
Let's see that next picture.
Yeah, so here's me with my partner, Dr. Julie Bates, and our two children, Dana and Cecil.
Who I've met, and I love Cecil.
Dana looks overly happy, and Cecil looks overly sad. But you know how it is with children.
I do. And particularly PKs, as they call it. Now tell us what this is.
Yeah, so this is me at St. Luke's in Forest Hills. We would go out each year on Ash Wednesday and administer ashes to go at the subway, at the bus, in front of the deli.
Oh, what a great idea.
Just to, presence the beginning of Lent.
I love it.
People.
But how innovative, how wonderful. And this is a beautiful picture.
That's a family that gave that book in memory of a loved one at St. Stephen's Episcopal Church in Jamaica.
Okay, and the final one we have is...
now Christ Church, Sag Harbor.
Which is so gorgeous. Your robes are so beautiful. I just want to stand in your robes.
I know, the robes are quite something.
So let's talk about Christ Episcopal Church, Sag Harbor. When I come in the summers, even though I'm a minister, it kind of doesn't feel like a church place. Yeah. But how are you finding the spiritual development of your...
So it's, it's interesting. A lot of the churches have closed.
Yes.
In the Hamptons. The ones that are left have deep endowments. Christ Church does not have a deep endowment.
Okay.
So my placement here is really about supporting the people who've held this place together for years and now are down to maybe 5 handfuls.
Oh my goodness.
And planting.
Yes.
And seeing what it is God needs from that congregation, what that God needs from that space. So we actually host the largest number of recovery groups of any church in Sag Harbor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
We are a home away from home for classes through the Bay Street Theater, English as a second language.
So it is a community church.
There is a community church. It is, absolutely. We're very small in terms of worshiping. And the worshiping community is an interesting mixture of people where there's maybe 2 handfuls of folks who are local.
Yes.
Who this is their church. And then the rest of the folks have other churches they belong to, and Christ Church is the church that they go to when they are in town.
Well, I'm going to come as well. Yeah. But it's interesting that in Sag Harbor...
You need to preach, honey.
It's interesting to say. I would love to. Whenever you invite me, I'd love to. You know that.
Are you ready?
Okay, sounds good. But it's interesting. There are 3 Black women. The First Baptist Church of Bridgehampton.
Absolutely.
The Unitarian Church. And now you. So that's amazing. And one geographic area here.
In one geographic area, yeah.
And you're all very community-oriented. All of your facilities. It's not just a building. It's community.
The founding fathers must be rolling over in their graves. Sister,
yeah, they really are.
Because Christ Church founded 1845.
Ooh. Oh.
And there were still enslaved people in this region.
Oh, yeah, that's really different.
And at most, what was I, the wife of a Bonacker, or the person indentured to take care of their house?
Wow.
If I was lucky, well, maybe I could be inside the house.
Yeah.
And not in the field. But
amazing,
you know?
Amazing. You know, the First Baptist Church of Bridgehampton, I had to kind of not only write a letter, but just kind of influence because they had never had a woman in the Baptist tradition. And, you know, just still you would think in 2022, 23, that we were a little farther along. So what do you see in terms of hope? If there's a woman who's saying, I'm called, I'm feeling God wants to do something. And
this is the best work anyone could ask to do. But you need to pick your denominations carefully.
Yes,
we were chatting before about, what we're entitled to at retirement. It's so important to feel the call but be pragmatic.
Yes.
To look at it from a business sense. What denomination can I represent? Because all denominations have their mess.
And they do. And it's the business of church business. You have to really know.
That's right. You have to be able to tolerate the structure, the leadership, and to serve, to do what God has called you to do.
Exactly.
I have no regrets.
Exactly.
Is the denomination a mess? Absolutely. Are mainline denominations losing members faster than they're gaining? Absolutely. But I'm not doing this for this.
Right.
I'm doing this for my relationship with God and what I feel called to do in the world.
Yeah, so USA Today has this thing. They said that there are the nuns, N-O-N-E-S, those who have no faith tradition, the duns, D-O-N-E-S, those who are through with it, and I say the B-U-N-S, it's the buns. People have sat on their buns for 2 years. Yeah. So will church ever be the same now that there's been this pandemic and people have been able to be in their pajamas, no one needs to see them? Will church ever be the same?
No, and that's a good thing.
Okay.
I'm not sure God needs it to keep repeating the same things. Right? So I think if we are good stewards of our resources, we will be running church on a variety of tracks.
Yeah.
There is the people who want and need to come in to have that connectivity, to have the up-close personal experience.
Exactly.
There are the people who may come in occasionally but need to connect by phone. Need to connect by phone on a Sabbath, need to connect by phone or tablet or computer on a weekday to get that recharge, right? We're not leaving televangelism to the mega churches.
Right, exactly, exactly. And mega now doesn't really mean what it used to because it's anyone who understands technology and can get on that.
Thank you very much.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. And has licenses to reuse music, right?
Oh, that's a big thing.
Important.
And many people don't understand that. You can't just take somebody else's work and put it with yours.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Not their sermon.
Right.
Not their translation of the Bible.
Right.
And not the music. Thank you very much.
Exactly. I've seen a lot of plays.
Not even if they're dead and gone.
Right? Yes.
So, and then there's another community for the church. There are the people who are not going to be confessional, but need good news. They need the good news of food.
Yes.
They need the good news of advocacy for justice making.
Yes.
Right? They need the good news of being able to make a contribution. I mean, you recycle and think, well, what's, still I'm recycling all this stuff and there's global warming. Or I'm shopping when I go grocery shopping and I get one for me and one for them. But there's still all this talk about hunger. There are people who needs to be hands-on in caregiving.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So that they understand and can feel by their own hands and their own interactions that the kingdom of God has come on earth as it is in heaven.
Exactly.
So if we are paying attention, well, I think if we were always paying attention, there would have been that triad.
Yes.
But today, if you're not doing it, sell the building.
Exactly.
And put the capital to use at something else.
Exactly.
Because today, we don't need the church to just be there to baptize, marry, bury.
Exactly.
We don't hatch, match, and dispatch. We don't,
So you raised a good question about caregiving, though, because I'm leading a group of Black women pastors who are caregivers. And one of the things that's really important to me is self-care. Because 5 of the women who started in ministry with me in the Baptist world are all gone. And a lot of it was because they couldn't put boundaries, they didn't put boundaries, or they felt that they couldn't stop. And I stopped. So Sag Harbor is my stopping place. So my first question to you is, what do you do for self-care?
Oh, Well, I am blessed or not with still having children at home.
Yeah, okay.
And so that creates a hard line where I'm sorry, no, it's time to do homework. It's time to prepare
Good for
dinner.
you.
We're going riding bicycles. My son in the evening, I have to watch him shoot hoops.
Yes, that's it.
Right?
Yes, that's it. I love it.
I'm also really fortunate in that I've moved into my parents' house and I look out the window from my desk and it's God's creation.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
You know, if I look to the right or left, there's neighbors.
Yes.
But out front, especially this time of year when the boats go away,
yes,
it's just the water, it's the ducks, it's the, you know, the whatever. It's the fish jumping in the water.
Exactly.
It's nature, and that's restorative. So I can walk on the beach when I get some time. I am
just look at it.
I'll just look at it, right? Be lazy and look.
I sat at Havens Beach yesterday, and it was like one of those picture perfect days. No one knew I was there but God. And we just had this, let me look at the water, and it was wonderful. So I'm glad that you have that.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you talked about the parental lines. You know, people used to say, so where are your kids doing homework like yours are?
That's right.
You know, I'm not schlepping them to the midweek meetings.
No. And my kids are a bit spoiled because from shortly after my daughter was born, at around age 2.5, I shifted out of church ministry and was a hospital administrator.
Okay.
For 14 years.
Oh, that was fortunate.
So we went to church as a family.
Yes.
None of this, what is your son doing? I remember when I went back into church work, I took him with me, and he was up and down during service. And people said, what's going on? And I said, well, ask him. He says, well, I was going to the bathroom. I'm not during church. I said, church is boring. I don't want to see you. I'm going to the bathroom. And by the next week, they said, we'll talk to him and remind him to go to the bathroom before church. That was the last Sunday I brought him.
I know, that's right.
We don't need the spiritual lives of our family tainted.
Exactly. And we don't need several parents. They have their parents.
I know, and I'm bad enough as it is.
I know that. I don't need anybody else. But see, now both of my children were born when I was senior pastor. So, but I had one person, either their dad or I had one person in the church, only one who could touch them, kind of take care of them, because they didn't need all of these voices telling them
So can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do they still go to church?
They're starting again now. One's 30.
Okay.
And there was a season when, I remember the first day I announced, I went down to work in the Obama administration, and I said, we're not doing watch night service. They said, we don't have to go? And it was sort of this relief. Yes. And they were about 10th and 8th grade then, and they were just so relieved. And then I was ambassador for 12 years, so they didn't have, for that decade, so they didn't have to go. And so now they are finding
they can choose.
Yeah, they can choose.
It's very hard when you can't choose.
Right.
I not only find this to be true with PK kids, because I've sometimes served with other clergy who had kids, but it's true of those of us who don't trust the public school system, send our children to religious schools where they like have chapel every day. When they get done with high school, they're like, I've had enough church for a lifetime.
And that's exactly what I did. I sent them to an Episcopal school, St. Hilda's and St. Hugh's.
Oh, sure.
Which I loved, and they loved it too. But they needed a break after that. So after high school.
School and you?
It was
and I don't know that we in the church, there are some outliers, have learned how to do children, young adults effectively.
No, we haven't yet.
And we're geared up for who's there and who's been there. Women.
Right. And
they got angry when we were ordained.
Yes.
But the church was full of women.
Exactly.
Right? Women and older folks.
Yeah. Now I found a church in Maryland where I had to move to Washington to serve. And it's called First Baptist Church of Glenard, and they do every generation well.
Okay.
And now they have gone international. So things like you said, baptism and whatever, they're like, get your cracker, get your wafer. And they've learned how to have campuses around the globe. But they do children and youth and young adults well, and married couples and singles. So they've learned how to do it. He's been there like 40 years, and he's got 6 kids of his own. Okay. So they have helped them, because his wife is part of ministry too, to kind of understand how to be relevant and stay relevant. So it's all the way live. I mean, last Sunday was Youth Sunday, and I was like, okay. I mean, it was a production, but it was good. So I think, though, here in New York, we have not found the answer.
No, and the formulas that we had in mainline denominations all involved having a designated staff person.
Exactly.
And who's got
the cash
resources anymore?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we're on the same page in terms of that. So self-care, you look at the water, you have time with your children and your family. You love to read. What
indoor gardener, outdoor
okay.
gardener.
Okay. What's your genre of books that you prefer?
You know, I prefer fiction by women of color.
Same here.
Same here. You know, that is where my heart is.
Okay.
And then if I need to step out from there, I'm reading stuff that has to do with my life. So I'm reading a book by A.C. Moore, her memoir of being an adopted young woman.
Okay.
And it's given me insight because both of my children are adopted.
Okay.
Around that.
Okay.
So then I'll sort of step out in that way.
Yes. Yes.
And then, you know, our culture.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we can get it. I don't know about you. I didn't get it at school.
Oh, no.
So I'm having to self-educate as an adult.
Exactly. And I'm a boomer. So, but one of the things I was able to do, because, you know, the Floridian governor talked about how we were benefiting from slavery. So I do a retreat every year called Selah by the Sea for self-care. Okay. And I just made a decision we're not going to Selah by the Sea in Florida because there'll be some other seas. I'm like, how can you spend your dollars where you're insulted? So making those decisions. But I want to go back to your advocacy statement. Okay. Does everyone need to be an advocate? Because I have this thing about stay in your lane. Like, I'm not a marcher. Okay. There is an Al Sharp.
People have different callings.
Yeah, exactly.
And I actually.
What do you feel yours is?
Mine is to facilitate people's discovering what their vocation is.
Nice.
That is my lane.
Okay.
So I don't, you know, I have colleagues who would go march and get arrested. I'm like, no. My parents did not raise me to have a prison sentence. Exactly. No. Exactly. That has been their nightmare. Right. But they would have to bail me out. Exactly. So no, we're not doing that. Exactly. But I'm not going to stop anybody else. And if it is someone's call, right, I will
help them to get on their page. Yeah.
You know, a church really is kind of a crucible where people come, hear God, hopefully, knock wood, right? Yes. We're doing our job. Right. And hear God asking them to be whom God created them to be, whom God needs them to be in the world. Because the only hands, hearts, and mouths and eyes God got in the world are ours. Yes. So people are going to have different callings. And a church should have space to be a launching pad for everyone.
That's a great title, launching pad for everyone. I love it. But that's exactly it, so that you can take your leap forward where you need to go. But we help you get on that path.
Well, some of my colleagues are, you know, this, that, or the other thing. I'm not really.
Yeah, I know.
No, because then how do I tend the rest of what the church needs?
Exactly. Right? Exactly. So. No, I understand that totally. So, books, self-care, what would you want to do if you weren't doing this right now?
Well, actually, I've started doing some of that.
What is that?
I went back for training to be a coach. And I'm coaching clergy. I'm working to become a certified coach. And so that when I'm done with church stuff, I can take that nurturing your vocation and just do that. It's not therapy. Right. It's not spiritual direction. It's listening to you, where you are in your life, and asking you, are you making the best use of your talents and resources?
I'm going to hire you for our women pastors because we need more African American women coaches, particularly for vocations that are clergy. So yeah, you will hear from me.
Because we can get totally burned out. We can get distracted. There's no money in the bank, and we get busy raising money, and we lose our souls in the process, or the buildings. Don't get me started about the buildings.
Well, I burned out my 7th year. I told you, I went in 26, put no boundaries. I was single, and my office had no window. So it was like going to the coal mines. And people would be waiting for me when I got there. They'd be lined up when I left. Yeah. And I didn't understand how to put boundaries at that point. So I got this gift of a sabbatical at Harvard Divinity School. And I walked around the Charles River every day. And when I got myself back together, it was like, you are too blessed to be stressed. Yes. He leads us beside still water so we can be restored in order to help others.
That's right. And if the waters that are running by your door aren't still, time to look at another direction or erect a dam where the water is strategically released. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are in charge of our own well-being.
We really are.
You know, God needs us, but God does not need any more sacrifices. That has been in our
That's
tradition.
Already been done.
It's been done.
So speaking of other traditions, I've seen like a lot of Jewish beach services actually on the beach. I came to one of in your home, which was beautiful by the water. Have you thought about doing anything outside?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
To come?
Absolutely.
All right, I love it.
To a beach near you.
Okay.
Next summer.
All right.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely. In fact, I've been going to Christ Church on and off since the age of 13, and every minister I've said, why don't service on the beach?
Yeah.
Service on the beach.
Yeah.
Service on the beach.
We're right here.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
My rabbi colleague in, I believe it is East Hampton, a few years back, started a service.
Mm-hmm.
And he's up to 300 people on a Sabbath.
Oh my goodness.
On the beach.
And I attended one of those.
And then when that shuts down,
right,
goes back to the normal congregation.
Exactly.
So reaching people who otherwise wouldn't have.
Exactly. And places where they would normally be able to come.
And in God's creation,
Mm-hmm.
getting us back in touch with God's creation. That's the best cathedral that there is.
Well, you're the best rector that I know, and I am so happy to be your friend. I'm so happy to have had you today on Live with Sujay, and I'm so happy to have had you. I'm so sorry we're out of time. I was at your church for the authors,
yes,
and we're just looking forward to more of that, and I'll be there to share with you. But thank you for joining us. This has been Live with Sujay. My guest has been Mother Cecily Broderick Guerra, and thank you for joining us. See you soon.